I went back to the big book step study, and I've been redoing my resentments. It's funny, as I read what I wrote the first time, I realized that I just skimmed over the surface of things.
Oh. Well, what do you mean?
Well, I didn't name anything specific. In the first iteration, I just wrote down my resentments about my sister and my husband Peter. With my sister, I wrote that I resented that she was my father's favorite. But what I didn't write was that she was competitive with me and she undermined me in his eyes. And I know she did it to make herself look good. When it comes to Peter, I wrote that he didn't pay attention to me or cared more about himself than he cared about me. But when I went back and I filled in the more specific details, I wrote that I resented it when Peter didn't come to hear and see me get the poetry award at the national conference. My parents came, the children came, but he had a board meeting and that was more important. And when I connected that resentment for his specific behavior, it just really made a difference. When I filled in the details about suspecting that my husband wasn't always truthful, I let the reality sink in that my husband was cheating on me. I think he cheated on me more than once during our marriage. It's amazing how much more powerful these statements are when you're very specific.
So it sounds like you're saying that something has shifted in you.
Yes, I'm feeling my resentments now rather than treating them as an intellectual exercise. It's much more intense. I don't think that I could have handled that a couple of years ago. My feelings would have overwhelmed me. That's my problem, isn't it? I avoided my feelings, just pretended. I believed what I wanted to believe. I believed I had a happy marriage because my husband was charming and everyone liked him. He was charming, all right, but he kept a big part of himself away from me, like he had a secret life or something. And I played right into it. I never questioned him. He was a master at avoiding getting caught.
So how are you feeling about all of that now?
I feel like a stupid jerk.
You just made some connections on a feeling level that were really important. And we've been working on this, and this is something new for you. And then, did you notice how quickly you took those insights that you had, and as you look back over your life, you turn that around to beat yourself up? How is that fair to yourself and all of the efforts that you've been making in here and in the Big Book Step Study? It's almost as if when you try so hard to be fair to your husband, you end up being unfair to yourself.
Yes, I do tend to err on the side of giving other people the benefit of the doubt. You know, it's to the point where I block out anything unpleasant or uncomfortable that I don't want to confront. Problem is, I'm terribly afraid of offending anyone. I want everyone to like me. I never want to hurt anybody's feelings.
So you think that if you speak the truth, or you even think about the deeper truth, that it might shine an unfavorable light on people and it's not the right thing to do, or people will become very angry with you?
Yes, and I'm afraid they'll leave me. The thought of it just gets me panicky and I start to shut down.
You know, I'm remembering something right now that you shared with me several months ago. Do you remember when you said that when you finished college and you were living in your parents' home, you moved right from your parents' home into getting married, and then shortly thereafter you had your three children right in a row. So I'm wondering if you've really ever had a chance to know who you really are as a real person, as a real adult person.
I'm terrified of that. That's why I always have to have other people around me to tell me who I am.
Well, what happens when you imagine not getting that feedback from people telling you who you are?
I feel like I come unglued, like I'm some sort of jellyfish, an undifferentiated mass.
Mm. It almost sounds like you're describing losing your sense of self.
Mm. That feeling of becoming like a jellyfish has happened to me a couple times in my life, and it was terrifying. I didn't know how to make sense of it. That's why I always need a circle of influence around me. That's why I'm afraid to stop working. I need the feedback and the structure to give me a sense of purpose. That's why I work so hard to please everybody and get them to like me.
Mm.
Yet at the core, I know that there is something else there that is me. At least I'm coming to recognize that there is something solid at the core of me.
Yes. Do you think you could tell me in words what is at the core of the real you?
Well, I think that I'm a decent and kind person. Even though I work hard to please other people, I think that those words describe who I am, really, inside, whether or not I'm trying to please people or not.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. Do you want to know what I see about the real you? Well, one thing I've noticed is that you have a way of seeing and remembering an incredible amount of detail. And then you have the ability to take all of that information and synthesize it in a way that's very clear and articulated back to other people. Do you think that you see that as a core strength?
I've been told that before by other people. I guess it's true. I got that feedback a lot in grad school.
Mm. So you can recognize that about yourself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Is there more that you can tell me about what's at the core of the real you?
I think that I am acutely aware of the pain and suffering in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think I feel it more than most people do. It's more difficult for me to shut out the awareness of suffering. It's overwhelming sometimes.
Mm.
But then if I'm so aware, why don't I do something about it? Why don't I help the suffering people of the world? Okay, it's overwhelming. So what do? I do nothing. I freeze up and then I crawl back into my own comfortable, secure world.
So when you begin to describe something that's at the core of who you are, that you're sensitive and you sense the pain and suffering of the world, you automatically think that you should be doing something to fix the suffering people of the world. And then when you don't do that, or you feel that you can't do that, do you notice how you turn around again and beat yourself up a little bit about that? Mm. So that's the second time that happened since we started talking about this today. It's almost like it's an automatic reflex for you. Sometimes when that happens, it's a trigger from someplace in your distant past. And I know that children who grow up in families where a parent is either depressed or they feel self-absorbed or empty inside, they put an enormous amount of pressure on their children to take care of them or to fix that, to make it better. And because you were a sensitive child, I wonder if a little bit of that pressure was put on you by them. I mean, we do know, after all, that your mother needed you to take care of her and made a lot of demands on you to take care of her and live into her image of what she wanted you to be. And your father was absent all too frequently.
Yes. Yes. But I still could be doing more today, and I'm not.
Well, that's a pretty big weight that you're putting on your shoulders, you know. Where do you think the weight of that expectation comes from?
I don't know. I guess I'm being too hard on myself.
Do you think it might be possible that a long time ago you were given a set of expectations that were far too great for a child to bear? And I wonder if you still secretly harbor a belief that you should be able to do the impossible.
Of course I do. And I'm tired of it. It makes me angry. I'm tired of having to be so careful. It's my turn to live my life now.
And one of the ways you can do that is by staying focused on the core of who you really are. You don't have to jump into doing something immediately or critique yourself in a negative way when you don't. Imagine what it would be like not to put that pressure on yourself. Imagine what it would be like if we just slowed the process down a little bit and had time to be curious about what's at the core of who you are, to just let the process unfold. When we did that today, this afternoon, when I asked you the question, it came pretty easily to you to come up with some things that you knew about yourself. And you know, if we keep talking about this, that might just be a way that that feeling of turning into a jellyfish might disappear. What's the smile about?
I'm not sure. Maybe we've just turned a corner. I feel as if I've opened a new door, a way of being in conversation with someone, or we can take the time to just talk about who I am without me having to do something.